Good night to everyone. My name is Moncada, and I'm going to give a brief summary about what I watched a TEDx video about. Its name is the 3 reasons why we can win the fight against poverty, and it was given by a field practitioner named Andrew Yoon, which owns a company named One Acre Fund, and his talk was really interesting, and it really motivated me to give this summary because he talks about a topic that it is really important for all of us. So he started the talk with giving like a background about the problem of poverty, and he mentions that the biggest problem that we have is that we have left 1 billion people behind, that we haven't considered these people in order to keep progressing in the world. We are a selfish society which only is concentrated in our own objectives instead of helping everyone to climb out of poverty and be a better world. So he mentions that he's been living in Africa, and he has experienced many of these poverty experiences. So he knows that that extreme poverty is really it has an impact in every people. So he mentions some facts that he could experience, like for example that one of three children is stunted for not eating enough, and we know that children are the future of our world. So basically, if they don't have good nutrition, if they don't eat enough, they won't grow. They will have mental discapacities, and this was obviously impact. Then he also had that 1 of 10 children die before age 5 because of the other fact that he mentions is that 1 of 4 children complete high school. So we know that even though some people are born with some talent, education is basic for everyone. So we can see that 1 of 4 of these children end high school, and this is because of lack of school fees, and this is also this lowers down the progress in these countries. So he basically talks about that every people matter, since the lowest people that are progressing or that are really poor, including the rich ones, we all matter, and we all need to be involved in this fight against poverty. So he mentions a fact that Archimedes said that there are certain levers to solve problems, and he stated 3 levers that he thinks that will make us win the fight against poverty. So the first of those levers is that most of the world's poor people are farmers, and this is why this topic is really associated with what we're studying right now. That is the topic with agriculture, because we in the future, many of us will be farmers and will be in charge of a farm and producing crops and cultivating crops. So he mentions that it is really impacting that more than 50% of the farmers, that the farmers represent more than 50% of the population who is considered poor. So this is really, really hard to believe, but it is true, and we have to do something about that. So if we attack directly poverty in farmers, we will change that 50% that is poor. So it would be a lot. He mentions that farmers need to know. So Andrew focused on that when farmers earn more money, then the poor people will climb out of poverty, and this is really key in the fight against poverty. He mentions that we need many of these farmers are from rural areas, which they don't have the things in order to get out of poverty. For example, he mentions some basic factors of farming, which are, for example, the hybrid seed, the commercial fertilizers, and the planting practice. This will be the second lever, which will be that humanity already knows how the tools to end poverty, And this is true because, for example, the three basic factors that I mentioned before, which is the hybrid seed, the commercial fertilizers, and the planting practice, these are not new. These are from many years ago, which farmers have been using in order to have yield gain and to multiply their harvests in order to gain more money. And when farmers are more productive, they earn more income, they climb out of poverty, they feed their communities, and reduce environmental poverty. So basically, farmers are the center of the world in this fight against poverty. And basically, he shows some people which have strength and will. He mentions that farmers have strength and will in order to succeed what they want, to feed their families, and to achieve their goals. So he says that if he would decide on someone to rule the world, he will decide on a farmer because of that characteristics. Andrew mentions that some of the factors that make that farmers have a big percentage of poverty is that some remote places lack of these basic factors. And this is basically because people don't deliver them these factors. They basically, what they do is that they store some of the seeds that they gained the year before, and then they plant it. So but they are just doing this like as a normal practice. They are not doing this to have a yield gain or to have an economic benefit. So he mentions that the key is to deliver proven goods and services to everyone, even those rural areas which is difficult to reach. But he mentioned that it is possible, and that he has proved that it is possible to do it with his 1 acre fund. He mentions something really interesting, that it is basically like a chain that will be made if farmers attack poverty. And is it that when they are more productive, they will earn more food. In order that we will have healthy communities because they are being fed from these farmers. The economy of these communities will thrive and will grow, and the economic pressure will reduce because this farmer will be making an optimistic use of land in order of making deforestation in areas and reducing this, and this will reduce the environmental pressure, which is it is a really important factor. So then basically, like in a type of conclusion, he started to talk about what his fund does, which he mentioned before, which was the 1 acre fund. And basically what they do is that they reach these rural areas and they provide them with the basic factors that I mentioned before. He provides them with fertilizers and seeds, which will be key in order to multiply the harvest and multiply the economic gains that these people will have. He doesn't know, not just only provides these inputs, but he also teaches them the practical way. He has people that teach these farmers how to make good practices, like every 2 weeks, so that these people can be constantly learning, and make a good production. He's now helping 400,000 farmers around the world, which we can see it is a big number of people, which it is significant in order to fight against poverty. Then in conclusion, he said that there is a role for every people in this fight. We all matter in this fight, and we are all part of this. So we don't have to be like thinking that it is not convenient for us, but we need to think that we need to be responsible of the role that we have in this fight. So we have to be leaders. We have to be leaders with vision, leaders that will make actions in order to reduce this poverty, because we want it or not, poverty affects all of us, and we can someday be part of that poverty side. So uh, we need to attack this. Then he start motivating humans, uh, saying that we are exceptional, and we really are. He says that we have put people on the moon, and that we have done so many exceptional things, that this attacking this issue is really a simple thing. It's a simple thing that we can do, and it is possible to do. We may think that it is a huge problem and that it is so global, but we can really attack this, and we can really win this fight with the three levers that he mentioned. So it was a really interesting fact, and in my opinion, I think that he's so right in so many points, because first of all, we all have a role in this fight. We all have to contribute in order to win this fight against poverty, and especially us who we are benefit on studying on such privileged university like is Zamorano, and we are learning so much techniques, and we are obtaining this knowledge in order to be farmers who use land good, uh, who makes optimist use of resources such as water, such as land, uh, and we are also responsible of teaching others these things, because if we have a farm, we will have around us many small farmers who we can teach them how to do things and help them fight against poverty. So this is my opinion, and I do think that if one day we have the blessing of having money and having goods and services, we can also help by delivering this to people who we know, to small farmers, because we are really blessed from being taught many things in the university. So thank you very much.